Um, Raise your hand if you ever thought, I think I'm too much. Something like this, Zoe, sometimes. Kaylee, did you do this too? Oh, you're a blur. Okay. I used to think the same thing, Audra, all the time. I would be like, oh, I'm too much. Like, I got to tone it down. I got to be quiet. I got to like hold back. And one, I love that you're feeling like you can be more yourself now. But before, like, do you feel like, and yeah, half the reason I grew up shy too, Kaylee. Do you feel like for you, Audra, it was more like learning to just say F it, or was it more like learning to accept it yourself?
I think it's both. Like I think it took me a while to realize that as a person who I thought I was more of like a extroverted person, that when I was in college I started to have more of like introverted like personalities. And as I think about it, I was like, I only had a few close friends like in college. And I was at a school where like if I look back on it, I did not fit into it. And so a part of me feels like I had to learn to accept like just this is who I am, and like I'm not going to change for anybody else. But I've also had to learn to just be more confident in saying like I'm not going to get along with everybody. People might find my energy intimidating, but that's a them issue, not a me issue, which the years of therapy has been like helpful for that, but it took a long time. So I think it's a bit of both. And I think it's also helpful to find other people who I see as like authentic, like meeting people who are very similar to me. I'm like, oh, like you have a lot of energy and you like to be goofy, but you also like to swear and do all this stuff. Like, and you're okay that I do it too. Like, I love that. So I love meeting people who are very similar to me, and they're in that, like, I don't care what people think of me. Like, I'm here to show up for me, and that's it. And I'm like, I want to be more like that again. So,
Yes, same. And I think we all have people that we like follow on social media that we feel are like super authentic, right? We're like, I want to be more like that, right? I want to show up the way they're showing up, and like finding those people can be challenging, right? In real life that you feel are super authentic, especially most of us. I mean, I know you pretty well, right? We all live in our little like house bubbles and like maybe don't see that many people or interact with many people. So that can be challenging. I looked at the definition of authenticity, and the like Webster dictionary or whatever. What is it? Merriam-Webster? Is that what it is? Merriam-Webster dictionary, whatever it's called. Is like they said that the definition of authenticity is of undisputed origin, genuine, not false or copied. That's the like the dictionary definition of authentic, right? Like the original, most authentic version, or like you found the authentic first copy of the Sorcerer's Stone written by J.K. Rowling, right? It was the most authentic, original, one-time copy, right? And so kind of like Audra said, I love that you brought this up. Like when she was younger, she used to be this way. We had this discussion before. And then like along the way, we all feel like we kind of lose our authenticity a little bit. Why do you think that is for some of you guys, if you're open to sharing?
Social media.
Social media. Anyone else agree with that? What about it, Zoe?
You just see all these things. Like when I was first getting into all of this, you see all these people doing these things, and you're like, oh, that seems like a good idea, or maybe I should be like that. Maybe that's a better way to get people's attention, or do this, do that. And I think now I've been off of social media a lot more recently, and I've just been able to live the way I want to live, do the things I want to do without trying to mirror somebody else as a person. And I don't know, I just feel much better about it. And I'm teaching the way I want to teach, and I don't need to be like anybody else, and I can just do my own thing. So
I can really resonate with that too. When I first, I mean, still now in some ways, right? But when I definitely first started, I would be like, did like the dancing reels all the time because it was like that's what you were supposed to do. And now when I look back at them, I'm like, this is the most embarrassing thing I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, this is not me at all, kind of thing. And because that pressure, right, of like you almost feel like you get molded a little bit as you go. I don't know. Does anyone else, does that make sense? Anybody? I'll just say yes. Like literally, I said this thing one time to a mentor. So when we all first started, like, and I know a lot of you are brand new to the space for the most part, but I even like when me and Lacey started, like does this entertain? Like, I didn't know anybody else who was doing this. It was like the wild, wild west. Like you're just out here, just like throwing noodles at a wall, like maybe this is good. I have no idea. And then you like enter this world of thousands of fitness coaches. And then you're just like Zoe said, like, oh, she's doing that. Maybe I should do that. Oh, he's doing that. Maybe I should do that. And then along the way, you start to like lose yourself, right? Because you're like taking chunks of other people and almost sticking them to your body and saying, like, does this look good? Do you accept me now that I have all of these like little pieces on me? Does that make sense? Do you guys feel that way?
Yeah, I definitely feel that way for sure.
Do you feel like it kind of like what Zoe was saying? Do you feel like then it makes it harder for you to get back to who you are actually?
I think sometimes, yeah.
I know for me it did for a long time. And do you guys know who Brene Brown is? She's the
No.
queen. If you don't know who Brene Brown is, yeah, she's the mother, she's the queen, she's everything you ever needed in your life and more. Get all of her books, listen to all her podcasts, become a Brene Brown junkie, essentially. She's the best. She's also she researches authenticity. She researches shame, which is like, isn't it so cool that you can research something that you can't hold in your hand? And like sometimes it's blurry to know what that thing even looks like. So Brene Brown defines, so we have this like Webster dictionary of authenticity, right? Undisputed, origin, genuine. And when I hear that, I think of like all of our little selves, right? And who we were originally. But Brene Brown's definition, I feel like, is something we can all like start to use as you're trying to show up more authentically on social media with your clients and like almost build up this sound foundation of knowing who you are, and no matter what influences come in your way, you can always come back to that little lighthouse inside of you. So Brene Brown says authenticity is the process of accepting ourselves for who we really are and abandoning the idea of who we think we're supposed to be. By placing value on your own needs and identity, you can develop your own self-worth. So I'm going to put that in the chat. Does that bring up anything for anybody?
It's interesting to me hearing that because it took me such a long time to figure out like what my personality even is or who I am. I have 7 siblings and I'm seventh out of 8. And so I always just like followed my older siblings and like did what they did and didn't really know who I was.
Yeah.
And then when I turned 20, I feel like I started figuring it out. And now I'm in my 30s and I'm like, I feel like I'm the most authentic that I've ever been, which is pretty incredible.
That is incredible. So you felt like because you were like in a sea of personalities, it was like,
Yeah, I just didn't know who I was, didn't know anything about myself. I felt like a chameleon where anytime I talked to somebody, I was just putting on a performance where I was acting and doing what I thought they wanted me to do or wanted me to say, you know? So yeah, now I feel like I'm actually more myself than ever. Like it's interesting. Like I know more about myself than I ever have, which is pretty cool.
that is really cool. I'm so glad.
Exactly, Lacey.
Chelsea said, accepting myself and self-development at the same time. That's my challenge, I think. Ooh, so like I want to circle back to that. Reels because Kaylee said, when I first started working on socials, I was afraid to show my artistic side or include fun colors in my reels because that's not what other people were doing. I didn't think that belonged in fitness space. Yes. Okay, this is so good. So for Kaylee's thing, right? Like, this is why I love human design. In Kaylee's human design, the validation of art is literally like, she has the gate for art, to use art in her life. And like, she was holding that back. Her and Nikki, I mean, I don't know all of you, I don't meet with you on a weekly basis, but Nikki and Kaylee, all this time I've been working with them, they have all these beautiful, special, amazing little things they do in their life. And I'm like, why don't I see this on your social media? Why doesn't the world know how freaking cool you are? And because like these things, right? You like, other people aren't doing it. So is it okay? Like, will they accept me? And kind of like what Lacey put, you like my personality? I made this one just for you, right? Like, because you're trying to like make everyone happy on social media. Like, please accept me. Please like this thing. Also, yeah, bring the Kaylee, follow Kaylee on Instagram. Maybe everybody, if you're not following each other on Instagram, Kaylee does really cool like paintings and art. She's amazing. But I think like I can resonate a lot, Nick, with you, Nikki, because, and the like, you like my personality, I made it just for you. Because like, we all have traumas, we all have people in our lives that maybe it wasn't safe either to be your whole self either, right? Like, or being a full of family of 7 kids, I can't imagine the chaos, right? Like, I mean, it was just me and my sister and it was chaotic. And so like learning to feel safe in being all that you are was probably part of that process as well. Do you feel that? You're like,
Definitely. Which is really cool because now I always just thought that like my opinions and thoughts had to be in line with all of my siblings. And I am so different than all of them. The way I think is so different than every single one of them. Like it's crazy, but it's cool. Like as I have gotten older, I can acknowledge that, realize it, and understand that it's okay. And try to, live my life. And even on social media is so hard. Social media is so hard. I feel like it's like a whole different level of trying to show authenticity, like it's just,
yeah.
you can do it in your own life, but then once you turn to social media, it's just this whole different ball game.
Yeah, it's like this weird pressure to be the most authentic, amazing. I saw this hilarious TikTok the other day, and it was like influencer trying to show that she's like authentic and real. And it's like she's trying to show the whole story, and she's like in her TikTok, and she was like, she's doing a get ready with me. And she's like, oh my God, like I have to go to school today. And then I just have a stressful workload. And then she like turns around, does that sound relatable? Does that sound real? And then her friend's like, drugstore makeup. People like drugstore makeup. They're poor, remember? She's like, I got all of this from Walmart, the Walmart store. Like and so there's like this pressure now in social media to like be the most real, authentic person of yourself. But most of us, I think, are still figuring out who the hell we are, right? Like I can resonate with Nikki that like I feel the most myself I've ever felt, but there's still like little spots that are like, I don't know if I'm ready to show this or know this part of myself yet, right? There's like these little spots that are still kind of like forming. You know what I'm saying? You were hesitant to post the chickens. I'm going to kill you. Always post the chickens, Kaylee.
I actually want more of the chickens. If you could increase the chicken posting, please.
I thought people would think I was so weird.
It's not weird, right? Like it's like that's Kaylee. Something that I think is really important for us to like work on our authenticity is that like that right there, right? People would think it was weird, but it's like part of your life, right? Like it's part of who you are. And I have awesome friends like Lacey who is super authentic, right? And I have a friend named Emma who is super authentic, and she's like the weirdest of weird, and she's artistic too, and she posts so many things, and like that's what people love about her, because she's like unapologetically like showcasing what her life looks like all the time, even if it's a mess, even if it's whatever. And I think this comes back to like standing out. I think like a lot of us struggle with with that like contrast. Do you get what I'm saying? Like when you say like you have a specific stance on like an opinion, or you're like, I'm obsessed with birds. Okay. Like I love birds. I love birds. Right. But like saying like your likes and dislikes out loud and proudly helps people see you more clearly because the contrast is there. When you're trying to be like everybody else, think of like with a photo with no contrast, you can't see it clearly. So then people can't see you clearly because there's no contrast on like what you like and you don't like. Right. So like most of us, I don't know, this may be just my story, but like as a kid, I would say I don't have a favorite food. I did have a favorite food, but I was trying to be the easiest child that I could be. So you would put something in front of me and I would just eat it. I would, or I would never would say like my favorite color because I was like, didn't want to have too much contrast. But like authenticity is like each of us has our own contrasts, right? Like, and each of us has brighter colors in one area than another. And like that's what makes us all unique and allows for us to be more authentic. Does that make sense? What are your all's thoughts?
I think that it's just uncomfortable to allow yourself that level of intimacy. Emotional intimacy and authenticity is like allowing yourself to fully be seen. And so when we keep these little weird nooks and crannies of ourselves back, it sort of robs every other experience and relationship because we're not even allowing the people that love us to fully love us. Like you can only have a portion of me. You can see me on social media in good lighting when I'm posed perfectly in full makeup, when I'm feeling my best, when I'm looking my best. But when I'm frumpy and have no makeup on and the lighting is poor, certainly not going to post that. Um, it's this weird thing. I think that people crave that level of authenticity and connection, but it's so uncomfortable to let your walls down because you feel like you're going to be judged or you compare yourself to like the perfection that we see.
Mm-hmm. It's scary.
Yeah.
It's so scary. And most of these things I have written down are from Brene. That's why I said, please go listen to her for like authenticity. But she said, you know, authenticity requires vulnerability, transparency, and integrity. Right. And so I think like we've already touched on all this thing. You have to be vulnerable to stand out and be like willing to show all your colors and saying like, someone doesn't like them, they don't like them, right? And then being fully transparent on like what that looks like for you. And integrity is a huge one for me because we want to be people, we want to be women who do what we say we're going to do and follow through with the things that we care about, right? Integrity is, I believe most of you here today, like integrity is important to you. And so authenticity comes from that, right? Doing what you say you're going to do, being vulnerable with it. And we're all always working on it, right? But I think when you can look at it from that way, you can say, how am I willing to step into each one of those corners to be more authentically myself, right? To make the contrast thicker, essentially. So with what like Lacey said, with being scared, what are most of you guys scared of? With being authentic.
I'll share the things. As a business coach and a mindset coach, I'm supposed to always have my shit together. And I don't. And I think that I certainly, let me make this very clear. I am no Daily Love Dumbbells level account at all, but like coaching students and leading people in breathwork and meditation, I am hesitant sometimes to be like, I'm losing my shit, or I'm having a hard time, or I'm like really emotional right now, or business is hard, bro. I'm in a terrible, like scary, hard season of my business right now. And I think that like having that like unrealistic expectation that I'm supposed to have it all together when I definitely don't, because none of us fucking do. None of us do. So yeah, that's a place that I feel hesitant to be my most authentic self for sure.
Thank you for sharing. I think it's important for like people like you who a lot of people look up to say something like that, you know. I would say for me, I'm gonna have a hard time saying it because I have a hard time saying these kind of things, but I fear authenticity because I can get I have a lot of trust issues with which may come as a surprise to some of you because I am so loving and so caring, but me showing all of me is a trust. Like I have trust, like I can barely get it out. That's how scary it is for me to be like, I struggle with trusting you with my authenticity. That's where it comes from. And believing that if I give you this, you're going to be able to hold it safely. See, because I got it. I'm sweating now just saying those words, right? Because it's so scary for me, right? And I believe I'm authentic in a lot of ways, but when it shows that deeper vulnerability and that deeper transparency, for me, I get super nervous that I don't want to give it to you. Because if I like give it to you, you may drop it. And then I'm going to be like, fuck that. Never again. Going to do that, you know, kind of thing. That's my clearly, because I can barely communicate it.
I was gonna say, like, during this whole conversation, there's a couple of things that came to mind for me, and I think there's like two things that came to mind of why I have a hard time like being as authentic as I want to be, and one of them is because just like the perception of other people, and if like they're going to be accepting of who I am and like not turn around and like make me feel bad about it, especially because I feel like I am kind of a different person from the general norm. Like, for example, I don't hate this person, but I don't like care for their stuff. I'm not a Taylor Swift fan. And when I mention that to people, it's like, oh my God, you have no music taste. Like your music taste is shit and blah, blah, blah. And it's like they go off and off. And I'm just like, oh my God, like I'm not making fun of you for you liking it. But it's like those kinds of things you're afraid to say it because people immediately are like, wow, you have no music taste. Like, okay, so am I a horrible person now because we don't have the same music taste? It's like very frustrating, you know, stuff like that. And then when I say like, oh, this is the kind of music I like, oh, that's gross. Oh, that's, oh no, oh no. Like, you know, I hate that kind of stuff, right? Just that kind of example. The other thing is with my job is that I'm so used to trying to be professional, like online. So I used to, for people who don't know me, I'm actually an occupational therapist by trade. I'm a pelvic floor therapist. I have my own business now, but I've worked in hospitals and clinics and things like that, where you're expected to follow a dress code. You're expected to not say certain things and do stuff. You have to be professional. So now that I'm like, have my own business, I'm like, oh, like, I can dress how I want to and I can do things and follow my rules, but it's also hard to sit with that to say, oh, I don't have a boss. Like I'm the boss. Like, you know what I mean? So I think I'm also so used to having to be like, oh, got to put on my ugly polo and khaki pants and have this whole like personality and like, oh, the patient said something mean to me. I've got to pretend that it didn't bother me or stuff like that, you know? So I think it's also just coming to terms of like, I can be my own boss and set my own rules, but just trying to get more comfortable with that, you know?
I can resonate with that a lot. I've never worked in healthcare, but when I look back at my life, it's like this roboticness almost,
Yes.
almost like this I'm so externally aware of everyone else kind of thing that I can't discern what's me and what's not me almost, because that roboticness is like do the things, just move through the stuff, and then like it's hard for that authenticity to flow through. That's kind of my interpretation of like what you just said.
That's exactly, I couldn't think of the words, but that's exactly how I feel. Is like I'm still trying to get out of that robotic phase of this is what I had to do because this is what I was told to do. But now that I'm in a space where I can do what I want to and have my own rules, that I don't have to be so robotic, you know?
Totally can get that.
Mhm. Plus in school, they drill it into your heads of like professionalism, like, oh, you got to make sure you always come with your name tag and on time and do this and try not to look like you rolled out of bed. You should have saw me at some points in grad school because like, there were some days I was just rolling into class because that's how it was.
That's that's crazy. Wait, Nikki, you had to be Mickey Mouse in the costume. This is what I'm talking about. Nikki has all these little nuggets of craziness in her life. Okay, and so you couldn't express yourself. You had to be Mickey.
Yes, exactly. So going, I mean, I worked in entertainment for a long time, so I understand having to look a certain way and fit like certain roles. My hair had to be long because I was a stunt person, and like it was this whole thing. But it did like it. I think that is what like made me not understand my personality as well. Like I didn't know who I was because I had to fit into this box for other companies that I worked for other people that like I had to portray.
Right.
And so it was really, that was hard. It was tough, but I understand where you're coming from, Audra. And also I'm a Taylor Swift fan and I don't judge you for not liking her.
Oh my gosh. Thank you. And I always say to people, I was like, I don't hate her. I promise you, I don't hate her. I think she's very successful. She has some good songs. I was like, but I promise you, I don't. But it's when I say I'm not a fan, it's when people are like, my God, they're like, what's wrong with you? Well, there's a lot of things wrong with me, but we're not going to jump into that. So.
Swift's not one of them. I think this though is a really, I definitely want to give anyone else a chance to share their fears around sharing authenticity, but I think this is a good little moment though to say, when you get these like no's or like people don't like something, like you say something and it deters somebody, or you get like a no, any version of a no, like a rejection or a push away, whatever. I'm going to encourage you because no is information. All no is information, right? Now you are aware of something you weren't aware of before in a person, and they are now aware of something in you. And you getting a no, or you saying no, or saying, I don't like this, I do like this, you saying those things, because we're all on our like little life paths, right? We're always like, we're all on our path. Everybody's on their paths. And things come into our path and help determine the next step in our path. So if you get a no or you give someone else a no and they dislike it, maybe that's the push that they needed in their path to turn the next turn or go where they were supposed to go, because uncomfortability causes change. And so if you are causing uncomfortability in others by being yourself, maybe that is the change that they needed by you fully owning who you are. So for example, who said this? I think it was Nikki said that. Nikki said this, that you are different from your family, right? So different, make different decisions. Maybe that's because you were given that specific design to help challenge the thoughts of your family members because they needed that, right? Or maybe you have a friend and you guys get into an argument, you staying true to who you are and saying, I don't like this, I'm uncomfortable like this, I'm not okay by this, maybe is the push that another person needed on their path. So we make ourselves small, we say yes, we dull our light because we're like, oh, I don't want to make that person uncomfortable by being fully myself. But really, like, you being fully, we're all connected, right? This is like, we're all connected. We all came into each other's lives for a reason. Nothing, I personally believe, happens for no reason. And so me meeting you meeting me saying something you don't like is maybe, or you saying something that I don't like is maybe what I needed to hear. Right. And so instead of us always like, Audra saying, I like this music, it could be as simple as that, or it could literally be like, I refuse to eat chicken, right? Or whatever, right? Those are things that help us help others, because when we are fully ourselves, we live out our purpose more and allow others to reach their purpose by being ourselves, because there's a reason you feel those way, and that's why you're living that way. Does that make sense? Just make sure I didn't miss the chat. Yeah, it made sense, or no, it didn't make sense. Oh, okay. Did anybody want to else share their fears around authenticity? I know you guys voted and you picked this topic, so I'm really curious on like your Audra. I would love to hear like why some of what your fears are, like why you really wanted to talk about this topic.
I guess I can kind of share. So right now I'm still in school and stuff like that, and I've had a lot of learning from a variety of different people on authenticity and just learning to be me unapologetically, but I still work in a gym and not employed as myself, but like in the gym setting and have bosses. And I find myself like saying how stupid things are. Like, I have to wear a name tag. Are you kidding me? People know who I am. Like, why do I have to wear a name tag? And so now I see that like my authentic self is starting to show through a little bit more when a year ago I never would have like said anything like that. So I kind of am, I have a plan to go into a field that is not just coaching, but now I'm kind of like scared that my authentic self won't be able to fit into that field or how to manage that, I guess. So it's like the reverse of what you guys were saying is now it's like starting to shine through, and I just think a lot of things are ridiculous and like these dumb rules. I have to wear black pants or whatever it is. I'm just like, I can't. Why? Why can't I just wear my tank top and my joggers and be completely fine with it? Like that's who I am. I'm gonna show up with my hair up, not straightened and makeup on. That's just I can't do that. So or I don't want to do that. So I don't know how to I don't know. It's just it's confusing me.
So like how to be in your move into this new job and then be fully Zoe
Yeah.
because it's new, or I guess kind of can you elaborate on like that a little bit more for me?
Not necessarily because it's new, but because I feel like it'll put me in a box.
What's the career field?
Well, it's law enforcement.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
You are a jack of all trades.
Yeah, so law enforcement is the field. So I don't know because there's so many rules and regulations with it. I don't know if I'm gonna like it as much as I have planned to sit with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So maybe I think this is a really good, yeah, you're the bunny from really is. But we all loved you, Zoe, when you were in an LCA with Team Zoe. But I think it's kind of maybe then for I don't know, everybody can chime in on this, but I would say like honestly, like if for example, like life is life, right? There are certain things you can't control, like certain jobs, you have to wear certain clothes. And obviously, law enforcement's like the epitome of rules, right? I mean, but you can still be yourself, right? The way you talk, the way you express yourself verbally, the way that you communicate with other people. Those rules don't define Zoe. They're just the way that you're moving through the external world, right? You still have authority over what you share and you don't share, what you do after work, right? And things like that. So I think it's more of not seeing it as a box and just seeing it as this is the uniform I wear for this job, but underneath this uniform, it's still me. And I think you'll learn that more and more as you like walk through it, right? Like you'll figure out what's your way. Like, for example, like, I think you have to prioritize it. Yeah, definitely. And I would say too, like, for my example, like when I became an NLCA coach, I was nervous of like how I could be myself in that environment because I didn't know what the environment was like. I didn't know what the people were like. I didn't know what the rules were like. I didn't know what things were like. So I would say give yourself the opportunity to get into the waters, see what's there, and then you can allow yourself to bloom the way that you want to bloom. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. I guess part of it too is like the fear of how people are going to, like in that field, how those individuals are going to accept me as this weird plant lady who loves fitness and all things outdoors and but also is in law enforcement. Like I don't know. I don't know. So I guess that's part of it too.
Zoe, what is your human design?
I think it's a
Are you manifesting?
manifesting generator. I think so.
Okay, so for my manifesting generator sister friends in here, Heidi is also a manifesting generator. Jalen is as well. Manifesting generators, you are literally here to challenge the status quo. Manifesting generators are here to show the world that there is not one way to do this. And it actually makes the most sense in the world that you're a manifesting generator, as well as like Jalen is like queen manifesting generator over there, like multiple passions, multiple things she wants to do, has all these different hands in different pots of all these things that excite her. And as a manifesting generator, you are literally designed to show the world that anything is possible and you can do it all. There is not one hat, one box, one uniform. You can be a law enforcement, like badass law enforcement woman. Police, are you being a police officer?
I want to get into like a detective role. That's like my main thing, but
Oh, that's right. Okay, I forgot about that. Okay. So yeah, so you could be that. You can also love plants. You can also love hiking. You could also be sweet, soft, adorable Zoe that you are, right? And like those all things can exist at the same time, right? The world loves to tell us be one way all the time, right? It's easier for me to digest that. But manifesting generators are literally here to show the world like, what's the saying? If I'm too much, go find less. Like that's what manifesting generators are kind of here to tell the world. And so embracing that is going to be, you know, your profile number?
no.
Go pull up your chart. I'm curious.
Okay. It might take me a second to
No, no
convince.
worries.
I wanted to speak on this for just a second, Zoe, because so I felt resistance like oil and water when I like zoomed out and realized that the whole medical field is just kind of bullshit. And I was like, felt like everything I had done has been like living a lie. And then all of a sudden my badge reel felt stupid. The scrubs felt stupid. We were following a whole bunch of stupid rules that didn't stupid matter for stupid bullshit. I felt the same way. So I'm just going to offer some like support in that because I think two things specifically. When I realized that I was like, this box that they're trying to shove me in, I don't fit in. I hate it here. And you also can kind of like look around and realize like all the people that have been there for 20, like, oh, I've been a nurse 25 years. It's like, that's not going to be me. When you realize like the other people that are like comfy cozy love this, like they're just living their best life here, and you feel like fish out of water, like you feel like I clearly don't belong here. I also feel like this is the plight of the entrepreneur. Like the entrepreneurs are the freaking weirdos who feel like they don't fit into like societal norms or like what expectations are, and you feel a little bit lost and disconnected from like what everyone else would say is like, this is a great job. This is a great work environment. You're so lucky. This is so great for you. Fucking nightmare. And so the only thing that got me through that period of time, and you can feel free to take this mentality on. During this era of my life, I hired a life coach because I was going through an existential crisis because I wanted to quit. This is before I became a fitness coach online. I was like, I think I want to quit nursing forever and I hate it. And everybody was like, there's something wrong with you. It's unhealthy. That's an unsafe way to think. You can't want to just quit it. I would cry getting in line to clock in. I'd be like wearing the stupid costume. I felt like I was like, well, gotta go dress up and go to the hospital and pretend to be a nurse. Fucking hated it. Um, so the only thing that got me through this was what I was working. I hired a life coach. I was working with a counselor. I went to group therapy. I was like, I'm losing my fucking mind. And they were like, what if you could pretend like it was okay? What if you got to do this for now? So you just have to like show up and pretend like this thing is okay. Like show up and like play the game, if you will. Like, well, I'm going to go clock in. I'm going to be a nurse for 12 hours. Like this is just what they're expecting me to do. So lucky. That's so true, Nikki. It's like anyone that ever says to me, like, I can't believe you quit nursing has never been a nurse before. It's like, yeah, you've never been a nurse. That's why you say that. So I had to get myself in the mentality of like, I'm about to put on this costume and I'm going to go play the game for 12 hours. I'm going to do everything that they say. And so then when they're like, you didn't update your care plan on a patient that didn't matter about some bullshit that no one cares about, I would literally be like, I can't believe I forgot to do that. I am so sorry. Let me put my badge holder on. Like, you know what I'm saying? So you have to just like show up and play the game. Even when, if you know deep down authentically, like none of this shit matters and it's all kind of made up and it's bullshit, it helps to just like keep that in your mind. For me, it did. It helps to keep that in your mind. Like, oh, this is all made up and it's totally bullshit, but I'm going to go play this game because you need me to play the game. I'll go play the game. Pay me hourly. Make that direct deposit hit every 2 weeks on time. I'll go and play the game.
Like that.
I help. I was losing my shit when I had to go play the game, though. It's not easy.
Knowing it's like temporary. Sorry, what you gonna say, Zoe?
Oh, I was just saying that that's helpful, and that's kind of the game I've been playing while I've been in person training and teaching classes, because I dread teaching classes. So that's exactly like, I'm just gonna do it and move on. I'm out of here, and the countdown is on. So
Got it. Pretend to be normal. Definitely. I mean, entrepreneurs are the weirdest people in the entire world, right? I'm gonna go create a whole ass business for something and see how it goes. Like, that's a crazy person. You like have to be like slightly mentally unstable to like start a business. Like, I like something ain't right. And like, this is actually a really funny story. Me and Lacey have this super secret project we'll be announcing eventually, but we were on this call with this woman, and I was like, this woman should really start her own business doing this, and this, like, this would be amazing, blah, blah, blah. And Lacey was literally like, Emily, most people don't think that way, right? We're entrepreneurs and we see just things differently. We all see things differently than regular people. I mean, my own husband is literally like, absolutely not. I would never start my own business. Like, you're crazy to like inflict basically every day this torture on ourselves for like this greater purpose we know exists in the world. Every day we willingly accept a million no's. Every day we willingly accept to put ourselves out there on a stupid app so that the world will see us and be like, I want her to help me, right? And so like when I think it's like this radical acceptance of like, all of us here are so different because we are doing something so different. And it's like, maybe it's letting go the thought that I need to fit in somewhere, because you fit in here. We all understand each other's problems. We all understand that like showing up on social media some days feels like you're trying to launch a rocket ship into the sky. It's like the hardest thing in the whole wide world. But if we can all just be ourselves with each other, at least we have each other, and the rest of the world doesn't have to understand us, because we understand us. We're like a bunch of crazy people. Like my dad too, I've been doing this for 3 years, still has no freaking clue what I do. He thinks I'm he thinks I'm trying to be an influencer on social media. That's what my dad thinks that I do. And like, I mean, and I just started a business that I literally, Austin told me to stop telling people this, like stop using this language of made up. But I made up. And like I pulled it out of thin air. I just made it up. He's like, say created, stop saying made up. But I just like made it up, because that's what entrepreneurs do. You just like make shit up and you're like, this could help somebody. And you're like putting all of your heart and soul behind it. And so I just like, we're just making it up. And I think that authenticity comes from like this awareness, this presence, this expression, and then just this embodiment of all of it, right? And the more that we walk through that, the more you're going to be like, I'm just in a clan of weirdos and I'm okay with it. And like the right people will understand that and will love it. You know what I'm saying? Yes, the yeses are better than spending our whole lives pretending.
I think that's why I aligned with NLCA so much. It's like, I think that entrepreneurship comes down to hearing no 1,000 bazillion times, because the yeses are so authentic. Like, I'd rather hear no 1,000 times in an effort to hear a yes from an authentic purpose for me, rather than go this like easy flow, go through the motions, made up bullshit I don't care about. I will willingly accept the thousands of rejections, heartache, devastation, stress, worry. I will accept all of this in exchange for being of authentic service rather than go through the motions of fitting into this lukewarm mediocrity, plain regular soup that everyone else is.
Yes. It's
Yeah.
it's like, I don't know who, I mean, I'm sure a lot of you can resonate with this. It's like when you are trying to be normal, trying to be like everybody else, and you get in that conversation with some girl, you guys are talking about the most surface level things. And I don't know if this happens to anybody else, but every valve in my heart starts to close up. I'm like, this is the most awful thing, right? Because it's like plain regular. Yeah, like it's just like I can't do this. Like I can't have like, and so when you're being authentically you, like you bring that out and you showcase the weird and you showcase the full self. But it's like what like I can't have just like the bland life. I can't just like have the bland. And maybe that's like all of our addiction to stress. Like we have all this ups and downs and we love it so much, all the crazy chaos. But I think at the same time, you know, deep down in your chest, I don't think you would be on this call if you didn't, that you are unwilling to settle for a life that is saltine cracker, right? Like you are unwilling, plain regular. We all know Lacey has the best descriptions for things. But I mean, right? We like, so in order for us to, I want your profile number. In order for us to be more authentically ourselves, remember that you don't want to be a plain regular. You don't want to, you're a 5'1". Okay. I will message you privately about that. But we want the full life. We want to experience life to the fullest. And you can't do that making yourself smaller and making your light less shiny and less bright and less colorful and less you, right? Like when I was doing those dance videos, you want to laugh, feel free to take a gander. They are so embarrassing. But I was trying to be like someone else who got a lot of attention on social media by doing that. I was like, maybe I should do that. But actually, I do better by just speaking on my social media. I do better by just, those are the things that I do best in. And so I just do those things now, right? And giving yourself like radical permission to like showcase everything about yourself. I mean, I used to not, I would have never 2-3 years ago shown how much I love birds on my social media. Never. I would have never shown that. I would be like, oh my God, I'm such a freak. Like I'm over here. There's these birds nesting right above my balcony here. And I'm just like, it's going to be so amazing. They're going to have babies. I'm so pumped, right? So if you trade your authenticity for safety, you may experience anxiety, depression, addiction, rage, blame, resentment, and grief. And are you willing to make yourself smaller because it's uncomfortable? We are the same, but different. Nikki and we are the same, but different. You just did one and thrived. Oh, your dance. Yeah, but Nikki, that's perfect for you. Have you guys seen Nikki's dance video? Go watch it. Go watch it. It's so good. I love all birds, especially. So just like, I hope this was helpful for you guys. And, you know, here in this space, I want us to continue to have these calls. Maybe we'll do them once a month if you guys really like just having open discussion and realizing like you belong somewhere with other weirdos who care about you and want you to flourish. Because this is another Brene quote, true belonging doesn't require you to change who you are. It requires you to be who you are. And so I want us to continue to cultivate that here, because when you are more authentically you, everything else is going to fall into alignment, because you need to be radically you in order for your purpose to fall into place. Does anybody have any last things they wanted to say or questions or anything? The bird commentary.
I just wanted to shout out, Lacey, I think it was the one you spoke about, you being a nurse and just like, you know, just going into that character, even though you didn't want to be, because that is exactly how I felt starting in like OT and working these places I just didn't like. Cause like, I love being an OT, but I don't like these places I'm working for. I still work like per diem job at a skilled nursing facility that, as I've told Emily, I can't stand it anymore. I can't wait till I'm financially comfortable to leave. But that's exactly what I'm doing. It's just being like, okay, I'm going to be here, but I know I'm onto a better path of being more authentic in myself. And I feel like now that I'm more comfortable being in my business and showing up, I'm starting to be more authentic in the skilled nursing facility. Like during meetings, I speak up more and basically will say, no, I really think that's a really fucking stupid idea. Like, just, you know what I mean? Before I used to kind of close my mouth and say, nope, I'm not going to say anything. But now I'm like, oh, I guess I'm really getting comfortable here, but I still want to leave that job. But I just have to shout you out for saying that, because that's exactly like how I've been feeling, you know? And people really don't know the struggle of healthcare. People think, oh, you're a healthcare worker, how magical, and you're helping people. And it's like, it's not as magical as you think it is, I promise. Just don't do it.
I'm glad it landed for you, and I appreciate you sharing as well. I think it's hard. Unless you've been there before, it's tricky. Or you're a person that's like, I love being a nurse. And then you have like your socks on that have syringes on them that say like nurses call the shots. And it's like, I can't. I gotta get the fuck out of here. Bye. Can't. It's like my nurse thing with my nurse badge reel, my nurse socks.
Ah.
Nurses call the shots. I can't. I'm like, I gotta go. Gotta go.
Yep. Our thing in OT is like, we put the fun in functional. And I was like, if I have to hear that one more time, I'm going to jump off a cliff, because I can't. Like, I'm going to be an OT in my space in my business. But when I hear that all the time, I'm like, okay, so people don't take my role seriously, and they clearly don't know what the hell I do. I try to make it fun, but like, yeah. So
I get it. Totally get it.
Well, thanks guys for coming. Do you guys care if we take a picture real quick? Smile. You're on. Cute. Okay. I'll stop the recording. I know some of the other girls wanted to watch this recording, but we'll get the next call booked for next month. I'll drop some dates and then we can keep meeting up. But otherwise, like, connect with each other in the group chat. Let everyone know you love them for being a weirdo. And I'll see you guys soon. Bye.
Thanks, Emily.